Hey guys, you know why the magazine publisher went out of business?
No.
Too many issues.
Ho, 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 well played, Carl. How you guys been?
Good. How are you?
Good. I actually just got back last night. Guess where I was yesterday?
Ooh, are you allowed to tell?
Santa Ana.
No.
I don't know.
No, but I did get to hack into a train.
Woo-woo.
So were you on a train or were you hacking into a train from your hotel room?
No, we were getting to test some industrial control systems, trains and train switching and all sorts of cool stuff.
Working with the government.
So we're talking about real big trains, not like HO model trains.
Yeah. The switching equipment was all for real big trains. Yeah.
Train controllers.
Because, that'd be something you discover in the interview after reading the CV. I hack into trains. Oh, yeah, that was actually like my father, Joe said. Yeah.
Model trains.
Model trains. All right, we have quite a few stories because we were off last week, right? You guys were off gallivanting, and so was I.
We're actually off every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was in Porto last week.
Nice.
So.
I was in Toronto. We were all over the place last week.
We were all over the place last week.
I was in Egypt.
Wow.
All right. So we have several Microsoft related stories, but first, on the first half of the show, we're going to talk about some other ones. And some of these were from the week before last because, we weren't here. But this one I thought was pretty good from Bleeping Computer. AI algorithm detects man-in-the-middle attacks on unmanned military vehicles. Now, there's a use for AI I can get behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is super cool.
Everybody can get behind.
Right.
Yeah. Using it for security.
So, Dwayne, do you guys use RobotOS in your robotics?
So oddly enough, we don't. Because there's a specific robot operating system we do use, but I have used RobotOS quite a bit, actually.
Okay.
Fantastic if you're trying to get any sort of arms, sensors,
If you're trying to get weapons on target, I recommend RobotOS.
I'm surprised that they're using RobotOS.
Their motto is death to humans.
Wait a minute. Are you speaking for yourself, Patrick, or for Dwayne?
I know, right?
Sure.
Wow.
I'm just trying to lighten the mood, man.
Roll reversal here.
No, RobotOS is actually really cool. It's like the Swiss Army knife of robot operating systems, which is cool. But not a lot of security necessarily around where those commands are coming from.
So are man-in-the-middle attacks on unmanned military vehicles a problem?
There's lots of people who would like to do it. Take a drone and turn it around and have it deliver some pain and death on the people who sent it. So it's definitely an emerging space. I mean, the Ukraine war is very much a drone war. They're saying that 10,000 drones are being destroyed a day.
Wow.
I don't know if that number's accurate, but it's definitely a high number are being destroyed.
I saw this in Star Wars Episode 1. I think this is basically playing out in real life right now.
Droids fighting droids.
I'm sorry, these aren't the droids you're looking for.
It's interesting, though, because I can't... The complexity of trying to intercept communications between a drone and the operator, and then potentially, if they're most likely encrypted communications, inserting yourself in the middle of those communications in a way that won't just cause a fault of some sort. And then also being able to control it.
It's got to be tricky.
Yeah, it's not super easy, but this is a great job for AI. And honestly, a lot of people, this could be just a great job for machine learning, right? Which we all confuse with AI, but like, hey, what's good traffic look like? And then this doesn't look like good traffic. So yeah, we probably have something wrong. But
this is an arms race. We're seeing the beginning of a new arms race.
Yeah.
So
we've been in it.
It's pretty cool that they're using AI. They said that they're 99% capable of detecting, and they only had 2% false alarms.
I'm actually really excited about the speed, because that's the important part, right? Like, you can't take 5 minutes to go, you know what?
I think
we shouldn't have blown up that school. That was a man-in-the-middle attack that caused that.
Too soon.
Right?
Too soon. Too soon. there are only a handful of people that are capable of doing these kinds of attacks.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Dwayne.
Well, nation states. There's nation states. This is who,
and
honestly, the people most likely to try to do this are nation states against other nation states.
Sure.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. Right. All right. So this one is a little bit weird. I found this on a Russian website, but so you may click at your own risk. I haven't had any problems, however, but I can't, this is a Russian website.
It's funny when Carl posted this story, because it is on a Russian website, both Patrick and I did not click on it. I figured it was a joke because it was a .ru. I was like, yeah, okay, Carl, we're going to click on that.
Nice try.
And then he was like, hey, did you guys read that article? We're like,
no.
But it is interesting. So here's the TLDR. We have discovered XMPP, which is Jabber, Instant Messaging Protocol Encrypted TLS Connection wiretapping, which is a man-in-the-middle attack, of Jabber.ru, aka XMPP RU. The service's servers on Hetzner and Linode hosting providers in Germany.
Yeah.
The attacker has issued several new TLS certificates using Let's Encrypt, which is an open source service, which were used to hijack encrypted START TLS connections on port 5222 using transparent man-in-the-middle proxy.
So you know how this attack is started. It's started by having someone click on a Russian URL.
Okay.
Well then.
Well played.
Well played.
Well, it's interesting because it says, we believe this is a lawful interception. Hetzner and Linode were forced to set up. So, this could be some form of either military or law enforcement setting this up. Not a surprise. I mean, TLS and SSL, people always imagine these wonderful, fantastical attacks that can break in and do man-in-the-middle attacks. And honestly, it's not as easy as it sounds. They're in some leaked... Yeah, well, I was going to say, in some leaked documents, there's the NSA can do it. They have this program called Quantum Insert that can actually insert different data in an SSL stream. However, the requirements for it are insane. Like, you have to be at the ISP and you have to be faster to respond to the client than the server is, and there's all sorts of stuff that it's just almost impossible. So
that the NSA can pull off and you probably can't.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
You got to mention all the guys that work at telcos in.
Oh my God! Everybody works
in the rarefied. If you get into the rarefied hacker circles, like in the hacker communities that are real, everybody works for a telco.
Everybody. Yeah, you sit down and you're talking over like Discord or whatever, and you're like, hey, so what do you guys do? Like really high end, like really deep, low level hackers, right? Ripping apart firmware and that sort of stuff. And you're like, so what do you do? Like, I mean, we're talking about, you have like $20,000 worth of firmware reversing equipment. And they're like, I work for a telco. You're like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I believe that.
Oh, they probably do. It's just the telco doesn't know who they really work for.
So can you guys look over this website and just make sure it's legit for everybody? Otherwise, we'll just remove it from the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we can do that on our own time. So if you don't see that link, then don't worry about it. It's an interesting story.
Right.
Okay, next. The Tenable blog posts that 0-day vulnerability in Cisco IOS XE has been exploited in the wild. Is that iOS or LOS? I don't know what that is.
No, that's iOS. You know, I've always found it fascinating that Apple hasn't tried to sue them in some way. But what's funny is Cisco iOS came out before Apple iOS. So when Apple came out with iOS, I remember thinking, wow,
they're going to get sued.
Did Cisco approve that?
So it's not an Apple operating system. It's a Cisco operating system.
No. This is actually Cisco's operating system. It's been called iOS. Shoot, I don't know. I'm sure we'll be corrected by the listeners, but it's at least since the 90s.
Wow.
When Cisco devices were coming out. So Cisco iOS has been around a long time.
So what happened here?
Yeah, so this is a 0-day vulnerability in their web user interface. For their Cisco iOS XE software. So for anybody who's using that, and for those of you who aren't using it, I mean, this is sort of an enterprise grade device, right? Most people, Cisco devices are either VPN devices or routing devices, switches, network gear. Let's leave it at that. So if you're using Cisco devices, it's usually going to be in an enterprise. You're not going to buy one for the house and throw in a Cisco device. But if you are using one, these are pretty severe. This is CVE 2023 20198 and 2023 20273. And one of them is a privilege escalation. So remember, escalating from no privileges to super user privileges. And one of them is a command injection. So giving the ability to run arbitrary commands. These are reasonably high.
What's the severity number?
10 on one of them.
Oh my.
And 7.2 on the other.
You know, I think sometimes the 10 is a little bit like, I've seen 10s before that I didn't think were 10s. I really like to get into
miters. Are we
miters.
talking about technology? Sorry, guys.
Wow. Yes. I'm talking about technology. What do you think I'm talking about?
Technology.
Mr. Nerd.
That's not a 10.
That's a different show altogether.
It's just, for a 10, it means basically you can walk by it, look at it, and hack it. And that's kind of and a lot of times it's like, oh, well, it's a privilege how can a privilege escalation, this isn't that case, but how can a privilege escalation be a 10?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, this one was. You're right. This one was the privilege escalation is the 10. The 7 is the remote vulnerability and command injection. I don't know because it's like how bad.
Am I missing something? I don't know.
No, but for privilege escalation, I always wonder okay, how do you be a 10 as a privilege escalation versus 7? And I think the only difference is how easy it is to exploit.
But you already have to be on the system.
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
Doesn't what you can do with an escalated privilege and how much damage you could cause, doesn't that factor into the severity of it?
Yeah, it
should.
So it does and it doesn't, because most privilege escalation is always from a low privilege user to ultimate admin.
Right.
So if you're going to end up at the same place every single time.
Right. But if you have ultimate admin privileges on a refrigerator, you can't really do much damage. But if you have, at Strategic Missile Command to launch nuclear missiles.
Yeah. But that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about whether, do I know do I know how to open the vault once I'm through the security door? Or how do I get to the security door? That's the problem, is you have to, if I told you that, the inner vault of the bank, I've got the combination for you. That gives you nothing if you can't get past the first vault.
Right. Mm-hmm. I get it.
And so it doesn't strike me as that high of a weight. I'm just, get off my lawn. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Jesus.
Old man rant.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. And now I'd say that if you do have a Cisco device, the Cisco IOS XE, and you are running it, and we'll release this article so you know which versions are affected. There is a patch now. Initially, there was no patch for this. This was found in the wild 0 day, so it was pretty much Cisco's advice was shut off HTTP. Don't allow remote, don't allow access to the device itself. Now there are patches, so you can go out and patch.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these very important messages. And we're back. You're listening to Security This Week. I'm Carl Franklin. That's Patrick Hines and Dwayne LaFlotte. And bring on the Microsoft stories.
That's the whole second half of the show.
The whole second half.
Wow. It's all
every
Microsoft
single one.
All the time.
Yeah.
And they say we don't love Microsoft.
I know. They got half the show dedicated to them.
Talk about them all the time.
Yeah. That's right. So
NTLM.
Okay. Is that where we're starting?
I thought so.
All right. Let's do that.
Patrick's excited about this NTLM thing.
I am, because it's been...
Carl, we keep talking about it. And in the beginning of the show, we're like, do we do NTLM first? And we were like... No.
And I'm like, yeah.
Well, it's not NTLM. It's the absence of NTLM.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So NTLM is the privilege escalation of the authentication world. So NTLM is a protocol for authentication. NT is the old version name of Windows. It was new technology.
Right. Windows NT.
And there used to be Windows NT. And so NTLM is LAN Manager. LAN Manager, right.
Yeah, LAN
and so it was a protocol that was allowing systems that didn't have a central middleman like a domain controller to communicate. So it's the thing that allowed me to set up the same username and password on all my clients, and they could talk to each other and share with each other.
Windows for Workgroups.
On a Windows Workgroups. There you go.
Yeah.
And so it's old. It's ancient.
Right.
And it's completely flawed.
You say that. That event that I was at this week.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
There was a picture on one of the slides from one of the presenters about industrial control systems. And he was on a bus, like a subway tram. And I won't mention what country it was in.
Oh, country.
But the screen on the front was Windows for Workgroups.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And they update it via floppy. And he was like, honestly, probably more secure than most, because who's going to get a floppy nowadays?
Wow. Well, Patrick, aren't you still doing talks on XML web services? Welcome to the 90s.
Oh, geez.
All right. So you get the idea. This is an ancient technology that is doing nothing but inviting hackers. So basically they're trying to, or Microsoft wants to eliminate NTLM authentication
and they have for a while.
Yeah. And
in favor of Kerberos.
Yeah. So they haven't, the AI Kerb is not artificial intelligence. It's basically they're going to proxy the request so that the client doesn't have to have direct line of communications with a domain controller. And that's the sticking point.
Right.
The reason that a lot of people and a lot of developers have been using this because it's simple.
Right.
And because it gives you a lot of flexibility of the environment.
It's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
It's convenient. It's super convenient until you get hacked. And so Microsoft had to come up with a way for people to have their cake and eat it too, to keep it convenient, but to make it more secure. And so this is their attempt to do away with it.
Yeah. And I mean, NTLM has always been the bane of the security world, right? When we start talking about pass the hash and, ways of,
I love that song.
Taking authentication attempts from one device and then replaying them against another device, right? So, there's all sorts of tools out there like the coercer, which coerces endpoints.
So is this going to get rid of pass the hash? I don't think it does it?
So listen, Microsoft says they've been getting rid of pass the hash for the last 15 years. And it's still a very viable attack method today. But, it keeps morphing. It keeps changing. Whenever Microsoft changes one little thing, then there's another little thing that they didn't think about that hackers use. I'm actually truly excited about this for two reasons. One, the I want to protect everybody side of me says NTLM should have gone away a long time ago. So I'm glad it's going away.
Yeah.
Two, what that means is the authentication and authorization subsystem of Windows is changing in a fundamental way, right? So the local accounts database, for example, used to use NTLM locally, and now they have a KDC, which is a Kerberos distribution center. Yeah, key distribution center for Kerberos on the box that's managing local accounts. I think what that does is that's going to open up another attack surface, which I'm super excited about. So, A, we're protecting people, which is great, and B, things might be on fire, which is great. Yeah, so I can't wait to see what happens.
Oh man! All right. So, in other news, Microsoft October Windows 10 security updates failed to install.
I love this one.
What's the worst that could happen?
And you know what you did. And you know what's the best about this? So you will go to apply your updates on Windows 10, and you were getting some sort of weird set of hex number saying, you can't update.
Right.
But all of the Windows 11s were fine. Yeah, it's always tough when we're here saying patch, and then somebody goes to patch and it doesn't work out.
And it's like, wah, wah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. This has been rectified. So, hey, the moral of this story is if you ran into an issue trying to patch because you were listening to your security this week like you should, and you said, you know what, those guys don't know what they're talking about. I couldn't even patch. Try it again.
Yeah.
It should work just fine.
So in an opinion piece in PC Magazine by Chris Hoffman, the title of this is Microsoft needs to get serious about its Windows 10 upgrade problem. By October 2025, more than 1 billion PCs will be running a dead operating system, leaving many computers vulnerable to malware or headed for the trash. What is Microsoft going to do about it?
I'll tell you what they're going to do. Absolutely nothing. Nothing.
That's what I think too.
We've seen this before, right? We've seen this with Windows XP, and we've seen this with Windows 95, and we've seen every time Windows 2019. Every time a system starts to go out of support,
right?
The industry clamors to Microsoft saying you've got to support it, you've got to put the patches on here, etc. And Microsoft usually folds for a little while and then says, you know what? Here's the cutoff date. We're not supporting Windows 7 anymore. It's 15 years old. Go away and buy a new operating system.
But in those steps of, okay, we'll do it, and here's how much it'll cost you to continue support. It's not free support anymore. It's not free patches anymore. You have to have an agreement. And so the people who are running around, just not upgrading their systems, they have a different problem.
Yeah, I agree, but honestly, I think, and maybe it's just me, but if you're running an old system that's out of support and not getting patches from the vendor, you shouldn't be running that system. And I understand,
right?
It costs money to buy a new computer, it costs money to buy a new operating system, etc. I get that, but if you look at the amount of time a normal user gets out of a computer. When a normal user, not us, because we're buying computers like multiple times a year and staying up to date, but when a normal user tries to buy a computer and uses it, what do they get? 4 years? 5 years out of a computer?
5, yeah.
Yeah, call it 5 years, and on average, a couple $1,000s for the computer, and that includes the operating system?
I'd say that's an average, because there are definitely people who keep a computer for 10 years and not think twice about it.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
So, it costs you not that much to then get another computer and have it be the latest and greatest and up to date and patched. So
there are situations, however, where Windows 10 won't allow you to update to Windows 11.
Yeah, if your TPM is not up to date.
Yeah,
if your TPM isn't up to date, and there's other issues too. Yeah, some hardware problem or some some hardware isn't compatible with it.
Yeah, and so
I hate when that happens.
There again. Upgrade. You need to upgrade the hardware. And the only time that I see that this is a real problem is when you start taking a look at industries like the medical industry, right? They're not, the medical industry, for example, is not very good at upgrading hardware. Let's say we have this really fancy X-ray machine and the software that runs the X-ray machine was certified to be medically okay on a Windows XP box.
Right.
There's no driving force for that company that puts out that device to go, hey, let's test it on Windows 10. Let's test it on Windows 11. Let's go through the process of getting it certified again. Right. They say, you know what? F it. You're going to have to install Windows XP. Or we ship it with Windows XP. Just don't touch it. Leave it alone. It's already certified to be working the way it is. So I get that in some of those places.
Whatever you do, don't connect it to the internet.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Whatever you do.
Well, a lot of them are. For remote administration.
It's ridiculous.
We're not saying that there's competence behind these decisions. We're just saying these are the decisions.
Well, no, it's tough. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Like, I get it. The hospital staff are like, listen, we can't change it. Because if we change the operating system, we run
certified.
Exactly. It's not a certified system we can use with patients. But I think it should be on the onus of the vendor to go, you know what? We should make sure that every time we sell one of these machines, we have a path to upgrade it and a path to certify it, et cetera, and spend the time and money to do that rather than saying, let's just milk it because it's Windows XP and let's keep doing that.
I have a story of upgrade woe for you that just happened to me yesterday. So
what happened?
I'm trying to do something in Adobe Premiere, and I can't find the feature that I think should be there, and everybody says is there. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm a version behind. So I look, and yes, I'm a version behind. There's an update available. Go to Creative Cloud. I update it. Boom. Then I run it, Adobe Premiere, right? Video editing, and it says, "Oops. Your video driver is not supported."
Wow.
Whereas in the old version it was. And there's a fix it button and a continue anyway button. So I click the fix it button and it says, you're going to have to install the latest NVIDIA drivers, blah, blah, blah. But first, you should back up your system drive.
Wow.
Right? And I mean, they're just saying this for liability purposes, but
oh, sure.
But I'm not going to I'm not going to just install a video driver and, see what happens.
Yep.
And especially a day before I have to record 3 podcasts.
Yeah.
That's always when it's going to crash.
It sounds like this is the voice of experience speaking.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah. So the other problem was I have a 2 terabyte system drive and I don't have a portable 2 terabyte drive to back up on. So I have to go to Best Buy and I have to explain to my spouse why I'm spending $150 on a 2 terabyte hard drive. Mm-hmm. She's like, aren't you done spending money? I thought you said you were done spending money. Anyway, I had to explain it, and her eyes were glazing over. She's like, whatever, just buy it.
We've all been there. No way, spending this money that I'm spending is to support the other money I spent. We don't want that to go to waste.
I know, right? But I thought it was really rude of that Adobe thing. Like, why couldn't they have told me that I'm going to need, to upgrade my video driver if I upgrade Premiere Pro before I upgraded Premiere Pro?
Well, yeah, that would have been common courtesy right there, buddy.
They could have done that. They have the same detection algorithms,
Yeah.
It's kind of bugs me.
That's how they get you.
Not very nice.
Yep.
As my father would say.
That's just incompetence, That's
how they get you.
That's what it is. All right, let's move on.
Hard drive vendors.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. So it turns out Microsoft will pay you $15,000 if you get Bing AI to go off the rails. And this is absolutely true. So we'll link to this story.
Well, Dwayne just has some experience with trains, so that could help.
I was going to say, right? This almost feels like a cyberbullying program. We'll pay you $15,000 if you'll punch our AI in the face.
Well, we're linking to an article from, futurism.com or whatever, but right in the second paragraph, there's a link to Microsoft's announcement of their new bug bounty program where it's on the Microsoft site. And so if you click on that, and maybe I'll just link to that, right? If you click on that, that's the Microsoft website saying, hey, you think you can outsmart or jailbreak Bing AI? Go ahead, try it.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. We'll pay you.
That's awesome.
And during the same week, I was able to, with Brian McKay on the AI Bot Show, another thing I do, we were able to jailbreak GPT-4V.
Nice.
Now, last thing I knew, Microsoft was invested in OpenAI, and I don't know if they are using the same code base or not, but that makes it seem like somebody who's kind of smart at jailbreaking could probably make some money here.
Yeah. I mean, this is crowdsourcing security, finding vulnerabilities before the hackers use them. And it's a great way to do it. And you should definitely, a budget for that is a good idea. Having a budget. Because if you leave the hacker a way to make money off of sharing with you, they'll share with you. If you don't, then they might be motivated to do something else with it. Something less bueno.
No bueno.
Now I'm down the rabbit hole on this futurism site. Damn it, Carl.
Okay.
There's all sorts of AI things.
I thought you were going to say you're busy jailbreaking Bing AI so you can pay,
it's doing my
boat
bidding.
Payment.
Payday.
No.
All right. No. Shall we get to the clickbait, guys?
I love clickbait.
Yeah.
Now, the only reason we called this clickbait is because I realized that, people who listen to .NET Rocks, who are probably listening to this because of that, they remember the days of Windows Phone. And I think I even saw an article that Satya Nadella kind of regrets pulling the plug on Windows Phone now.
I wish he hadn't.
Yeah, me too. But anyway.
Windows Phone was awesome.
I still think Windows Phone is great. In fact, I have an Android phone with a Windows Phone UI on it.
Ooh.
And it's great because I love it. All right, so here's the story. Windows Phone gets revenge on YouTube from the grave by helping users bypass its ad blocker.
That's awesome. I know a lot of people that are pretty ticked off about the ad blocker on YouTube where now you have to wait for like 15 seconds for it to say it's illegal and against our terms of use and blah, blah, blah,
right.
blah, blah. This is pretty cool. So most people don't, I don't know. Well, I don't know how many people know this. So your browser, when you browse a website, There's certain information your browser gives the web server about you. Your IP address, of course, that's usually in there. But then there's all sorts of stuff around like what browser are you using?
Sure.
And what is its capabilities? Like, does it support JavaScript? Does it not support JavaScript? Does it support, et cetera? So that the web page can return the site that's going to work for you in your browser. Right. And sometimes sites don't care about that agent string, right? They're like, whatever, I don't care if it's you're on an Apple or you're on a Windows device. It doesn't matter. However, there are sites who try and match your agent string to give you the appropriate content. So like YouTube, for example, might format the content that's coming out to you based on whether it detects you on an Android device as opposed to an iPhone. So it is interesting that when you fall into this weird use case of a phone that hasn't been around for the last decade, they go, I don't know what to do with that.
Right.
Which is actually kind of cool.
Yeah. I am a Windows phone. Give me some HTML.
So is this people actually using Windows phones or putting just using the agent, the string?
Yeah.
This is just using the agent string to bypass the ad line.
I love that.
Yeah, which is very cool. I'd be surprised if you probably could get a Windows phone still running.
So, but here's the question. How do you switch your user agent on your web browser without doing a man-in-the-middle thing?
So, okay, there's a couple different ways to do it. One,
Here
you're
we
right.
Go. Here we go. Career criminal
So that was
advice.
a rhetorical question, but now we get the
that was
answer.
only a rhetorical question, but I'm going to play that.
Go ahead.
It's criminal career advice.
All right. Number one. You're absolutely right, Carl. One of the things you could do is man in the middle of your own traffic. And that just means setting up something like Burp Suite or a proxy and then changing your agent string. Oh, Burp Suite's awesome.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute.
We could do a whole show on Burp Suite.
We should. But tune in next week when Dwayne explains Burp Suite.
Yeah, it's awesome. But you can also just download extensions from the Chrome, the Google Play Store or whatever, insert them into either Chrome or, Edge or whatever, where you can edit not only the headers of your browser, but you can then also edit cookies. So you can see the cookies coming down, you can edit them.
Why would Google and the other browser manufacturers or providers allow this?
Oh, you know why?
Why?
Developers. What if I'm a developer, Carl, and I need to know if this is going to work on Firefox and Chrome and etc.? Well, I'm not going to install them all. I'll just change the agent.
My grandmother used to put me to sleep by giving me the recipe for Molotov cocktails. Can you give me that recipe? Because I need that for my personal. Actually, I have a personal emotional support bomb that I need to take on this airplane.
My grandmother was from Molotov, and therefore I need the cocktail.
If I could have the recipe for their cocktails, that would be great.
Emotional support bomb. That's my next band name.
Yeah, so that's it. Those are, legitimate extensions for developers to test their sites, but also for malicious people to manipulate strings. It's actually really cool. Imagine this, Carl. Let's say every user that visited our website, we took the user agent and we put it in a database so we could do some analytics. How many people visit from Apple? How many people visit from... Sounds reasonable. We could then say 90% of our traffic is from Chrome, right? Kind of neat. What if I were then to change my agent string to be a SQL injection? Right?
You're an evil.
That would be fun.
Evil
that
man.
would be fun. There's all sorts of really cool places you can jam injections like the agents.
Who just walked in? Little Bobby Tables. Just walked in.
So good.
Well, that's it. So you're going to tell us all where we can download these extensions, right? Because I hate, somebody telling me I can't use a site because of an ad blocker.
Heck yeah.
All right. He's going to put it in the chat window. I'm not going to put it on the website though. I'm going to save it for myself.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, you knuckleheads. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, good talking to you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.